9:17 on the morning show with Jeff and Will. We are back on this fine Monday morning, and joining us as she does every Monday around this time, it is the editor-in-chief of the Rockland County Business Journal, Tina Traster, who joins us. Good morning, Tina. How are you this morning?
I am well. Good morning, Rockland County. A lot to get to today.
Indeed.
Starting with. Rockland County Business Journal was out yesterday late afternoon, covering a rally in Spring Valley in support of the Haitian-American community.
Oh, how was that?
It was rousing. It was also surreal because when a group of people have to answer back, we don't eat cats and dogs, you wonder what science fiction world you have found yourself in.
Yeah.
There were about 250 people out there, maybe more. They were pushing back on the fabricated allegations that have been spread by Trump and J.D. Vance. It was an animated crowd, to say the least. They were, waving Haitian flags, and many of the speakers spoke not specifically, but spoke in Creole, and their national anthem was sung. So it was a rousing event. Paul Adler also gave a very rousing speech. I mean, it was impossible for it not to be a political rally to some degree, but I think that in the end of the day, it was a humanitarian rally, and it spoke to, the degradation and the dehumanization of these rumors, just the real life consequences to particularly Springfield, Ohio. So we were out there. We captured the event in photos and also in videos. And I would suggest that if anybody didn't get out to see that yesterday afternoon, check it out.
I would certainly have to agree. I saw some of those photos, and may I say, it seems like, even though obviously the reason everyone is getting together is, to combat obviously a negative stigma that has arisen as a result of these unfounded claims, it does seem like people are enjoying themselves, getting around the community and taking pride in their background, which is good to see.
Yeah, it was rousing, and it was. I always get emotional at these things. So, but no, I mean, we put up. I think what we put up. I don't know if you saw the piece that we put up, but I think it captures the event from yesterday. Plus, there's at least several videos too, and those are the speakers in their own words. Moving on, wanted just to deconstruct a little bit the results out of a case in Piermont last week that got some coverage, but let me deconstruct that a little bit for our listeners today. So back in May, a Rockland County judge temporarily prevented the village of Piermont from hearing an application from a developer who intends to build a 14-unit multifamily on Piermont Avenue, which is right down through the central business district. And the reason that the judge entered the temporary order was to give the village and the residents who filed a lawsuit against this a chance to weigh in on whether or not the village's new, it's called CBM zone, that allowed the residential multifamilies by special permit, was whether that zoning was legal or not. And Rockland County said that the village had failed to send its proposed zoning change to the county planning department for review, and that's required by law, and therefore that its failure to do so made the zoning invalid. So the residents seized on that argument and filed a lawsuit back in April. And the village said that it had mailed the package with the proposed zoning change to the county, but it had no proof in the form of a postmark. And the proof of mailing in the form of a postmark is all that's required to show that the village complied. Instead, it offered an affidavit from the village clerk. Now, the case had been pending for 6 months, but last week, without holding a hearing, the judge ruled that the zoning was invalid and tossed out the zoning law, basically putting the kibosh on the development project. And the judge also ordered the village to resubmit the zoning law to the county planning department within 30 days, and ordered the county planning department to do its best to process the submission quickly. So It sounds like a solution. The village resubmits the materials, the county comments, and the village repasses the zoning law, allowing the developer to go forward with its application, but this time under a valid zoning. The problem is that the court decided the whole case before allowing the village to be heard. And so while the order is called, quote, temporary, it's really more like a final decision. We were told on Friday by the village and by the village attorneys that they're considering all their legal options, including an appeal of what it's saying may be reversible errors. And meanwhile, the developer's project is in limbo, and the village's hands are tied, and they're unable to process the application in the central business district. So we'll have to see what happens next on that case. But I think that if I know that the group of opponents to this law, were very pleased with this victory, but I don't think this is where this story will end. So we'll have to just keep an eye on that. Moving on, in other corners of the county, we put up a story last week, I think a rather important story about, let me start by saying last week we attended a Village of Haverstraw Planning Board where the folks who are aiming to redevelop the waterfront chair factory site, Impact and Penrose are the name of the developers, came to the planning board, and that application appears to be sailing through without too many, without headwinds, so to speak. And it's obvious that the village wants this development. This development is game-changing. This development takes a 9-acre fallow peninsula and puts it back in commission and brings to Haverstraw the village of Haverstraw the kind of development it hasn't seen in, I don't know, ever. So we, like I said, we attended the planning board meeting to just get a sense of where that application was going. So it's moving along smoothly. However, as we have, I think, talked about before, what stands in the way is that this developer needs what's called a pilot, payment in lieu of taxes. And this is something that the IDA has signed off on. This is something the county is behind. This is something the village is behind. The school district is behind. And the holdout is Howard Phillips, the Haverstraw town supervisor, who apparently has to also bless this thing with a pilot, or else either the developer has to find a workaround, or the village loses this potential development. So, in connection with this, the Phillips attended something called the Haverstraw Collaborative, and that's a group of people who meet once a month in the village of Haverstraw. It's mostly a group of nonprofits that meet to share common issues that are concerning people in need. Phillips came to this meeting. He'd previously been invited to the one a month before, but he came to this meeting this month, a week ago or so, and he did not mince his words. He basically said that Haverstraw has done its share of putting in affordable housing, and that the rest of the county should step up. And he gave a 16-minute speech. He refused to take any, questions. So he refused any kind of engagement or back and forth. I'll read his words so that I don't misquote. He says, if you want to empower people, if you want to give them roots in the community, sink the roots deep down into the soil. The best way to do it is to get them to be a homeowner. I don't care if it's a townhouse, condominium, or single family. That's why all of us should be supporting Habitat for Humanity. Now, fact check there is Habitat for Humanity in Rockland County built one home in Haverstraw in 2019, renovated a home in Hilburn in 2022, and has maybe 2 projects scheduled for 25 to 26. So, home ownership sounds good and well and good, but it's clearly out of reach for many. And when people are rent burdened, meaning that they're spending more than 30 to 50% of their income on rent, they can hardly, find enough to save for a down payment or qualify for a mortgage. when Phillips left the meeting, the next thing that happened was Adam Bosch, who's the executive director of the Hudson Valley think tank, Pattern for Progress, did a presentation. And he said, basically, he opened up by saying that people can't reach the first rung of home ownership, that they are, that increasingly those in distress are people in the middle class. And he said, quote, they are persisting in looking for rentals longer. In the last 10 years, rents have doubled while wages are stagnant. These are working people who provide us with goods and services. There's a deficit. Oh, so Pattern for Progress did an assessment, a needs assessment for Rockland County, and it came up with that there's a deficit of over 4,000 affordable units for those making less than $60,000 annually, according to this. And it says that 57% of Rockland homes are single-family detached, unaffordable to the average resident, and he pointed out that the single-family average sales price, this is eye-popping, is $683,000. The report also goes on to say, and I think I've said this before on the radio, that 42% of the town of Havershaw's residents are housing burdened, while 52%, okay, more than half of the village of Havershaw are spending more than 30% on housing costs. What's going on in the village of Havershaw is that there were 3 proposals for affordable housing. One got essentially squashed when Howard Phillips engineered a plan to get the Knights of Columbus to donate their building to them. That was going to be about 100 units. There's a second development called West Half, and that one may squeak through, although they're seeking a pilot too. That's about another 100 affordable units. And then the Chair Factory, which is not just about affordable housing, but about economic stimulation for the village and beyond. In that project, a 450-unit project, 70% of the units will be affordable, including set-asides for veterans and seniors and those below the income threshold. We're following these stories because they're all important. Development really is about people and how they live and where they can live, and a healthy mix that's needed in the county. So that's a full flavor of what went on this week.
Quite a large amount of interesting things, of course, to see what's going on this week and, of course, beyond. And to continue to track what's going on in the Rockland County business world, make sure you check out rcbizjournal.com. That's rcbizjournal.com. Thank you so much, Tina Traster, for giving us the weekly roundup of all the Rockland County Business Journal news. Make sure to check them out on Facebook as well as Twitter. They are there as well, and we hope you have a great week, and we will talk to you next Monday.
All right. Have a fantastic week, everybody.
You too.